Hey friends, all right, we're looking at a two-pack of World War II era military tanks made by MISTBUY, and they come packaged together in one box. I did a separate unboxing for that, and they have two entirely separate bags and instruction sets per each tank. So this tank that we're looking at over here is the Panzer IV, and this one over here is the T-34. And we'll look at each of these individually, and we'll look at the features and the lighting that it comes with too. All right, so let's start with the Panzer IV, and just looking at all the way around, it is a gunmetal, like a dark gunmetal gray in color, and it has this tank at the very back there, like a reservoir, and a lot of detail, a lot of greebling, a lot of things that tank fans would recognize and understand. And there are no stickers, so everything you see, there's very sparse decorations, but everything is printed that you do see that's a decoration. It does have a action feature, which is this knob here at the back. When you turn it, the turret turns the opposite direction that you turn. And there is a lighting feature too. So there is a light brick, which is very similar to Lego's light brick. So it's a 2x4 brick, battery inside, and you press one end of it, something will happen. So if you look at the back here, there's an actuator pin, and that pin presses the back of that light brick. So what I'll do is turn it around and press it, and you can kind of barely see it. So I don't know if that's supposed to fold like that, but we'll just press it here instead. There we go. So there's a little bit of light that shines through. I think it's meant to be seen as with some maybe a little like light bleed that comes through it, or maybe it's supposed to be when it fires, there's that flash that comes from it. So not sure what it's supposed to represent, but it's nice that they integrated a light brick and they hid it in the internal structure, and there is a remote way to actuate that light by pressing this button on the back. So I appreciate that they did that. The treads do move, and there's something like 60-ish treads per side, so that could get a little bit tedious, but it was fun to finally get it done. So it's nice that they work. And interestingly, they told me a precise number of treads per side, and for all four of these sides, it was exactly one too many. So I don't know if that was intentional, that they want you to have them very loose, but I found that removing one of them gave me the best effect for being able to drive it, and it wasn't so loose that it was sloppy. So I took out exactly one per all four sides. Let's zoom in a little bit so you can see the detail. And as I was building this, I thought to myself, wow, this is the closest thing I've ever encountered to building a Lego Star Wars set without it being Lego and without it being Star Wars. And I couldn't quite figure out why that was. And I think it's because there were a lot of really interesting shapes, greebling, things that as I was putting it together, I wasn't sure what it was. But once assembled, it became a very satisfying detail or structure or shape that had this kind of military influence, this unusual, almost like hodgepodge of technical hardware and knobs and buttons and pulls and things like that, and grills everywhere. So it was quite fun to put together. And the quality of the bricks is pretty good too for this model. And so I enjoyed clicking things together. I didn't have any issues with them being over clutched or under clutched. To me, they were just right. And they had unique pieces that were on the more modern side. So I was getting to use some pieces that were purposely made for other uses, but worked really great in this particular model. So I appreciate that. And I like the gearing here. So you turn just a little, but the turret turns even more. That's kind of cool. And I like the use of this gear piece upside down for the top there. So yeah, pretty neat. Let's zoom out. Let's take a look at the next tank, which is the T-34. By the way, the instruction manuals come with a tiny write-up about each of these tanks. Tells you a little bit about it, why these tanks are special. And you can see that in my unboxing video. So turning this guy around, you can see it uses this olive green. My wife remarked she had never seen a set with that much olive green in it before. And I was thinking, yeah, I wonder what Lego has that's all olive green. And I couldn't quite remember. I almost want to say maybe one of the Ninja Turtle tanks had this much green in it, or maybe it was their some sort of Ninja Turtle set had this amount of green. But yeah, there's a lot of green. Good use of the brown for these reservoirs on the side. All of the wheels and the treads, they move as well. And then there's some spare treads up in the front here in a different color, which is kind of cool. All right, and this, of course, has an action feature as well. So it has this remote turret, turret for the remote. And same thing, you turn it one direction and it turns the other direction. And the gearing is nice. So you turn just a little and the turret turns a little more than you turned. So I like that. And then this does tilt up and down just a slight amount, as did the other one. It tilted just a little bit and it's sandwiched in there pretty well so that I don't think it's going to come loose anytime soon. And it also has a lighting feature. So there is a button here, same thing, 2x4 light brick. And when you press down on this, it actually actuates that light brick. And so you can see the light on the inside. And it's mostly meant to come through this 1x2 transparent plate that's down there. But there is some light bleed that comes from other areas if all the lights are off. And as a matter of fact, why don't we do that just for kicks? Let's turn off all the lights here in the room. Well, that's not all of them, but most of them. So you can see just a little bit more of how it's peeking through. Let's get those lights back on in here. And because this piece just sits there, it's like basically a 1x2 piece. They give you this part and they have you strategically put that part on to keep this from falling out. So I appreciate that they did that. I'll show you what I mean. So this tile comes off, and then this piece, which is the actuator. Whoa, that didn't mean to have that one come off. This is the actuator for the light brick. Notice it's not really held in by anything. And we'll show you what the light brick, the back end of that light brick looks like. So there it is. There you go. So you're essentially pressing on that piece in there, and then that triggers the light brick. So it's a little bit hard to see, but this part has that slope on it. It sits in here. You press down, and the light brick switch comes on. So it's a nice way to solve that problem. And again, I was worried that this piece would then just fall right out, but no, they actually said, you know, put this piece on here, and that will keep it in place. And it does. It keeps it from falling out. So thank you for doing that, MISTBUY. Appreciate it. Let's zoom in. We can take a look at the details a little bit closer. Now, I'm not up to speed on what all of these things are. If this was a automobile, I could tell you what things were, but unfortunately, I'm not a huge tank fan yet. But this thing really gave me some curiosity for what all the parts are and what they do. So I really appreciated building this. And just like the other one, it felt the closest thing to building a Star Wars set where there was just really unusual techniques and a lot of really interesting parts coming together to make something cool. These here are upside down revolvers, so in black. So I don't know if you can tell, they are black guns that are stuck in there to make that detail. And these flaps are always pretty cool. I did build model kits when I was younger, and I do remember making a couple tanks. Printed piece along the side here. Same with this one. This is also a printed piece. Closer look at these extra treads that are mounted on the front here. And then, like the other one, the treads all move. The wheels can move, but mostly it's the ones in the very front and back that actually do the moving on this particular model. And like I said before, I had to not follow the instructions and take out exactly one tread in order to get it to fit tightly and to fit nicely in there. All right, so let's see, let's zoom back out. What do I think of these? I mean, I really enjoyed building these. Each of them come to around just around 600 parts for each of the tanks, and I can see the appeal of building tanks. They're just so much fun. They're so compact. They're like originally I thought these were sort of scaled to be Speed Champion scale, and maybe they are, but they are only comparable to Speed Champions in the scale. As far as the number of parts, there's a lot more parts, a lot more detail, and just a lot more enjoyable to put together. There was one weakness on this particular tank, and that is for this area that holds on these flaps. They're held in by these 2x2 smooth, like domed tiles on the underside, and so they're very easy to break off. So as I was, even just adjusting this, if I were to try to adjust it, it would break off, and it would be a pain to kind of get it back in there. So they did that on this particular model, but they did not on the other one. They're a lot more solid. So I actually ordered 2 more tanks that I think come from the same manufacturer. I don't know if they're going to be branded as MISTBUY or not, but there are 2 more tanks, and I'll review those soon when those come in, and I'm expecting those to be pretty cool as well. All right, thank you. If you found this useful, hit like, and if you could subscribe, that would mean so much to me. It helps me keep doing these videos. Thanks very much.